pleased to raise this hugely important issue of early years childcare services and the absolute need to provide adequate funding in the next budget to ensure sustainable and accessible childcare services for 2022 at least. Minister, I don't say it lightly, but there is a crisis in the sector. It means that early years educators are expected to work for approximately €12 per hour. That's untenable. Is it any wonder that up to 50% are actively looking for employment elsewhere? Early years professionals, 98% of whom are women, are among the lowest paid workers in Ireland, with, as I said, 50% earning below the living wage. Minister, that's the value we put on early years education. In the Netherlands, the hourly wage is €26 per hour. In France, it's almost 20. In Germany, it's 18. In Ireland, it's 12. An additional 75 million is the minimum needed to improve pay scales to ensure all staff earn above the living wage. Minister, you are also aware that parents in Ireland pay the highest fees in the EU, on average about €184 per week. If we compare that to Sweden, and I know it's at the lower end, but in Sweden, childcare costs €31 per week. Minister, if you were to invest a further 75 million in the upcoming budget, that would help to ensure affordability for parents and therefore accessibility to high-quality, sustainable services. Minister, I'm seeking your commitment on that here this evening.
Thank you. Minister.
Good evening, Meskin Corlin, and thank the deputies for their questions. And look, it is a key priority for myself as Minister for Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth to improve the affordability, the accessibility and the quality of early learning and care, ELC and school-age childcare, SAC. And historically, as we know, there's been low levels of investment in ELC and SAC in this country, though in the last 5 years we have seen a 141% increase in investment, and that stands now at 638 million per year. And this increase has funded a second year of the Early Childhood Care and Education Preschool Programme, ECHE. It's funded Access and Inclusion Model, or AIM, and it's enabled the introduction of the National Childcare Scheme, the NCS. And Deputy Marian O'Connor referred to First Five, the whole of government strategy for babies, young children and their families. And that was published in 2018, and it committed that by 2028 we'd have doubled our investment in ELC and SAC. And a key vehicle for ensuring that the significant investment delivers for children and the family will be the new funding model. And an expert group is leading on this work and will include the development of appropriate mechanisms to fund services which will improve affordability, which will improve quality and improve sustainability, and will also address issues such as staff pay and controls on the fees paid by parents. And this expert group, it's undertaken very extensive research and consultation, and I expect to receive their recommendations in November of this year. And its work has been informed by an in-depth process of stakeholder engagement and consultation undertaken to capture the perspectives of parents, of those who work in the sector, providers and their representative groups. And included in the experts group's term of reference is a mandate to explore how greater public management of the sector, supported by greater public investment, can help deliver these policy objectives. And just refer to the draft guiding principles that were developed by the expert group itself. And this includes the statement: the funding model should be based on an acceptance that ELC and SAC is a public good. It should seek to support the delivery of this public value through the provision of high quality, affordable, accessible and sustainable ELC and SAC services. The funding model should make best use of the available public management tools. And I expect that this principle will very much inform the report of this group. And in recent months, I've met with representatives from the ELC and SAC sector to discuss, among other issues, the levels of funding in this sector. Those meetings have been really useful in orientating me and my department's plans. And in terms of Budget 2022, my officials and I have received and considered pre-budget submissions from a number of representative groups, and this will inform our budget bid. Both deputies raised the issue of pay, and I firmly believe that the level of pay in the sector does not reflect the value of the work that early learning and childcare practitioners do for children, for families and for society. And I'm doing all that is in my power to address this. As you know, the state is not the employer. The department doesn't set wage levels, but my department has provided a range of supports to support service providers to enable them provide better wage and working conditions, higher capitation for graduate payments, support for school-age childcare to make it more attractive. And last December, working in partnership with SITU and CSI IBEC, I began a short process investigating the potential of a joint labour committee and how that would support a better wage rate. We engaged Dr Kevin Duffy, the former chair of the Labour Court, and following that I wrote to Minister Damien English, and Minister English has now signed an establishment order for a JLC in the early years sector. I regard this as an extremely significant and welcome development, and I know that that has been welcomed by employers and workers in this sector.
Thank you for your response, Minister, and I can hear you have a real commitment to this sector, the childcare sector. But you spoke about the expert group recommendations coming in November. That's important, but Minister, it's too late for many in the sector. You have to know this. There has to be an extra investment. I'm saying 150 million is needed in the next budget before those recommendations. In my constituency, there are over 100 childcare providers employing thousands of staff. They can't wait for the recommendations of this expert group, which I believe has the possibility to deliver a quality service. But when I said there was a crisis earlier, Minister, I didn't say it lightly. I said it because one after another, childcare providers and those who work in the sector are telling me there is. The expert group, it's great, but in the meantime, Minister, I'm asking you to make a commitment to keep the sector afloat until those recommendations can be implemented.
Minister, to conclude.
Thank you very much. And this sector, like so many sectors of the economy, is coming out of an incredibly difficult time during COVID. And it's a sector that absolutely stepped up. And I know both deputies recognise that, particularly last January when they didn't shut, when they continued to provide early learning and care for the most vulnerable children and the children of essential workers. And how we managed to deliver that, Deputy Harkin, is through the EWSS, through the sector exemption that childcare had that I negotiated with the Department of Finance at the time, because we knew with the pods they had an obligation to have more staff on the site, which required greater funding, and we provided that through the EWSS. And I know all the providers that I've met have recognised how important that was up to this point. They recognise also that we've been very clear there won't be a cliff edge in terms of the EWSS, that will be tapered out. But we are now looking beyond COVID. And Budget 2022 is, in my belief, the opportunity to move us beyond COVID, to start to implement the recommendations of the expert group. And Deputy, they won't come as a surprise to us on the day they're published in November, because I have been engaging with them and I have a sense of the key elements. And I think everyone in the sector has a sense of those key elements, and that will form the basis of my engagement with Minister McGrath and with my government colleagues in the context of Budget 2022. And it is essential that we provide, as Deputy Marian O'Connor said, that pathway, and we have a workforce plan for staff, but it requires them to see that they will get a living wage as they move on up through their career. And for me, one of the most depressing things was talking to my own constituent, who I know well, a young woman who's just graduated from a third level institution and left after three months in the sector because the pay was so bad. We have to give people like her a future in this sector, and I believe the actions this government is taking will do that. Thank you.